Vox Log, the 15th of February, 2026. Cultural analysis. Engage. Transmitter. Binary dissident. The following are quotes from Gynocentrism.com, where they detail the origins of Western worship of the feminine through idolization of the Virgin Mary and subsequent application to the sanctity of Mary to the wider female population and the spreading of courtly love by the troubadours. From Haj J. Chaitor, The Troubadours, quote, "In the 11th century, the worship of the Virgin Mary became widely popular. The reverence bestowed upon the Virgin was extended to the female sex in general, and as a vassal owed obedience to his feudal overlord, so did he owe service and devotion to his lady. Thus there was a service of love as there was a service of vassalage, and the lover stood to his lady in a position analogous to that of the vassal to his overlord." End quote. From C.G. Crum, Legacy of the Middle Ages, quote, "The aristocracy and church developed the doctrine of the superiority of women, that adoration which gathered round both the persons both of the Virgin in heaven and the Lady upon earth, and which handed down to the modern world the ideal of chivalry. The cult of the Virgin and the cult of chivalry grew together and continually reacted upon one another. The cult of the Lady was the mundane counterpart of the cult of the Virgin, and it was the invention of the medieval aristocracy. In chivalry, the romantic worship of a woman was as necessary a quality of the perfect knight as was the worship of God. It is obvious that the theory which regarded the worship of a lady as next to that of God and conceived of her as the mainspring of brave deeds, a creature half romantic, half divine, must have done something to counterbalance the dogma of subjection. The process of placing women upon a pedestal had begun, and whatever we may think of the ultimate value of such an elevation, for few human beings are suited to the part of stylites, whether ascetic or romantic. It was at least better than placing them, as the fathers of the church had inclined to do, in the bottomless pit." End quote. From Thomas Cahill, Mysteries of the Middle Ages, quote, "It is unlikely that we shall ever know for sure. An educated guess would be that the expanding cult of the Virgin Mary, in the language of prayer and in the images of art, served as the inspiration for all subsequent exaltations of women in religious life, in the worshipful literature of the troubadours, and in the courts of Europe, which soon devised a more secular form of devotion, courtly love, which in turn influenced women like Eleanor to seize control of their destinies. Though this feminism is certainly not the result that churchmen would have wished when they reluctantly blessed the growing popular enthusiasm for devotions to the Virgin, it is also true that all cultural revolutions tend sooner or later to press beyond whatever initial limits were set for them." End quote. From an article published in The Philistine in 1897 by Mr. Marion Reedy, where he details the evidence that gynocentrism had been established as church doctrine. Quote, "The church it was that built up the modern ideal of woman. The church it was that cultivated, so to speak, chastity by its insistence that the creature who had borne a god was worthy of veneration and was not to be only an utensil in ministration to male passion. Not only was man indoctrinated with a higher idea of woman, but women became possessed of a higher, better sense of their own worthiness. There is no love poem in the world that equals the Litany of the Virgin, composed by the celibates of the Church, and all that is ethereal and spiritual in modern love's expression is to be found in the beautiful titles whereby the Virgin Mother has been supplicated for centuries. This idealization, not to say idolization, of woman could not but have its effect upon men and women in a time when the Church was supreme. And so we see, as woman is more and more recognized for her worth and her value in the scheme of things, coming down the centuries, woman's ideas gradually changing the heart of the world. As civilization progressed, cruelty was put away. This was the influence of woman. The gradual growth into life out of religion of the reverence for Mary manifested itself in the development of chivalry. And then, when chivalry, its ends accomplished, passed away in the development of what we now know as the gentleman. This Mariolatry, as some people call it, led to the modern gynolatry, about which there is, now and then, must protest. Yes, the devotion to Mary is responsible for the new woman, and the new woman is only a distortion of the real woman, as she will be when emancipated completely from the denomination of the ideas against which Mariolatry has been an age-long protest. If the Church enslaved woman, it did so in one way, only to give her greater power in another. The nunnery upheld chastity in times when universal and continuous war ravaged the world. For the Middle Ages were anarchy. The Church maintained the indissolubility of marriage when every petty tyrant in Italy, Germany, and France deemed himself a god and thought to appropriate other men's wives and daughters as he would their cattle. Churchmen at times were dissolute enough to convert unbelievers on the theory that an institution which could survive such infamies must be divine. But the teachings of the Church held a great body of men true to purity in woman and to the sanctity of the marital relation. The Church has upheld Mary consistently as the type of sacred womanhood, and by its influence upon the minds of men, has brought about a general attitude towards all women as if they partake of some of her mystical attributes of worthiness and even of divinity. Ave Maria. The troubadours were medieval lyric poets and musicians in 11th to 13th century France and Italy. They composed songs about chivalry and courtly love. The word troubadour means to compose or to find. The following are quotes and passages from a book called The Troubadours by Robert Kerfalt. Quote, "The submission of troubadour poetry to ecclesiastical requirements went farther. The aim in view was now to set aside altogether its erotic aspect and to give it an exclusively religious character. Love, which in the songs of the poets had turned into a personified abstraction resembling the eros of the ancients, now came to be compared to divine love, the Holy Spirit, to God Himself, and to Christ. The lady in pursuit of whom the poetic passion of the troubadours had soared became transfigured into the Holy Virgin and Queen of Heaven. Respect for women rises or falls in proportion to the veneration confessed for the Virgin, the Mother of God, writes a Catholic authority. There is, it must be allowed, some truth in contention. The independent character and the high social position of women in barbarous Europe were associated with an ardent adoration of the Virgin Mother, but the latter had not yet become Christian. In the versions of the barbarian tales, she appears as the fairy or enchantress who allures knights errant, casts a spell over them, and inspires them with a divine passion. The cult of the Virgin, which was universal among the barbarous peoples, whether Celtic or Germanic, was at first combated by the Church. But as has happened with countless ancient cults and customs, the Christian Church adopted what she could not suppress. The ancient cult of the Virgin and Holy Mother was restored by being incorporated in the Christian religion. The Holy Virgin, celebrated by Saint Bernard and designated the Great Goddess by Albertus Magnus, had, by the time of the Proto-Renaissance of the 12th century, replaced the Trinity in the devotion of the masses. God the Father was terrible and unapproachable. Christ, gentle and tender as he might be, exercised the prerogative of a judge. The Heavenly Queen alone was in a position to extend unalloyed compassion to sinners. The Holy Virgin worked more miracles than the whole heavenly hierarchy and the saints put together. She had resumed the full exercise of her immemorial functions as the fountainhead of magical power. It was her privilege to interrupt the order of nature at any moment, and no occasion was too trivial to be accounted beneath her intervention. Among her prerogatives, the Holy Virgin controlled all medicinal and curative resources. A tale was told of a poor monk who found himself in the article of death owing to an ulcer of very suspicious nature, which had eaten out his nose and lips. He was hideous and ugly as a monster, and had so many sores and holes that he stank like a cesspool, and that each one thought he was spent, and that his soul had departed from him. Having been abandoned to his fate by his fellow friars, he appealed to the Virgin on the strength of the fervent devotion which he had always shown in her service. Touched by his appeal, the Holy Lady descended in person from heaven and treated the case by applying milk from her breast to the fetid ulcers of the monk. The divine remedy proved instantly effective, and when his brother friars came with spades to bury him, they found the patient uncommonly animated. The Holy Virgin always showed a particular indulgence and compassion towards female sinners. Thus it was related that the abbess of a certain convent found herself in a state of great embarrassment, as the indications of the good understanding which existed between her and the chaplain were growing more and more manifest. She was at her wits' end how to cope with the impending disclosure. But the Holy Virgin came to her assistance, acted as midwife, and brought her to birth, quite painlessly, of a sturdy boy whom she entrusted to the care of a holy hermit in the neighborhood. End quote. Here is an excerpt from the 7th dialogue of The Art of Courtly Love by Andreas Capellanus, written in 1190. The passage details the original beta male simping for a woman of lower status than he in anguish and her subsequent rejection. Quote, the man says, I ought to give God greater thanks than any other living man in the whole world, because it is now granted me to see with my eyes what my soul has desired above all else to see. And I now know in very truth that a human tongue is not able to tell the tale of your beauty and your prudence. And I wish ever to dedicate to your praise all the good deeds that I do, and to serve your reputation in every way. For whatever good I may do, you may know that it is done with you in mind. The woman says, I am bound to give you many thanks for lauding me with such commendations and exalting me with such high praise. I am therefore glad if I am to you a cause and origin of good deeds, and so far as I am able, I shall always and in all things give you my approval when you do well. The man says, I have chosen you from among all women to be my mighty lady, to whose services I wish ever to devote myself, and to whose credit I wish to set down all my good deeds. From the bottom of my heart, I ask you mercy, that you may look upon me as your particular man, just as I have devoted myself particularly to serve you, and that my deeds may obtain from you the reward I desire. The woman says, your request that I should consider you as my particular man, just as you are particularly devoted to my service, and that I should give you the reward you hope for, I do not see how I can grant, since such partiality might be to the disadvantage of others who have as much desire to serve me as you have, or perhaps even more. Besides, I am not perfectly clear as to what the reward is that you expect from me. You must explain yourself more clearly. The man says, the reward I ask you to promise to give me is one which it is unbearable agony to be without, while to have it is to abound in all riches. It is that you should be pleasant to me unless your desire is opposed to me. It is your love which I seek in order to restore my health. The woman says, you seem to be wandering a long way from the straight path of love, and to be violating the best custom of lovers, because you are in such haste to ask for love. For the wise and well-taught lover, when conversing for the first time with a lady whom he has not previously known, should not ask in specific words for the gifts of love. We are separated by too wide and too rough an expanse of country to be able to offer each other love's solaces, or to find proper opportunities for meeting. Lovers who live near together can cure each other of the torments that come from love. Therefore, everybody should try to find a lover who lives nearby, end quote, as these quotes suggest and point to evidence that the beta male condition is a condition of medieval Christianity derived from the worship of the divine feminine encapsulated in the Virgin Mary, which then this divine feminine narrative structure gets applied to the whole of the everyday female. Western culture ends up driving men to pedestalize women, even the higher classes pedestalizing lower class women. This cultural drift towards female empowerment and worship throughout the centuries has hit a cliff in modernity. Females have been allowed into the workforce and taken up into high-paying careers, which, alongside social media, the birth control pill, and free sexual relations, where the top 10% of men have a monopoly on sex with women, has inflated their sense of worth. Now every westernized woman feels they deserve the best of men because they scored sex with a high-value man, and be damned if they settle for a quote-unquote lesser man. The pervasive influence of Mariolatry, therefore, extended beyond mere theological devotion, morphing into a profound cultural template. The concept of the lady became secularized divinity, a human object of reverence whose perceived sanctity was inherited from the celestial mother. This system effectively reversed traditional power dynamics in romantic and social life, establishing a moral framework where male worth was contingent upon subservient devotion, service of vassalage to the female overlord. This historical conditioning, where a man's honor and self-worth were tied directly to his capacity for selfless, even suffering dedication to a woman, is the core mechanism that continues to produce the modern beta male condition. This inherited framework manifests today in several destructive ways. The modern man is culturally primed to view his financial, emotional, and temporal resources as tributes to be offered at the feet of the contemporary lady. This is the residual impulse of courtly love, where the knight performs brave deeds, achieves career success, provides expensive experiences, offers boundless emotional labor, not for his own sake, but for the hope of a reward. which is the woman's approval, affection, or sexual access. This creates a transactional relationship masked as romance, where the man is constantly running a deficit and the woman's value is inflated by the sheer volume of unsolicited male investment. The gynocentric framework inherently pits men against one another in a zero-sum competition for female approval. The original troubadours, by seeking to outdo one another in poetic adoration and devotion, established a precedent of competitive subservience. Today, this translates into men undermining each other, failing to form strong, mutually supportive male bonds, and instead seeking validation through individual acts of chivalry or performance directed solely at women. The system thrives on male isolation, ensuring that collective action or the formulation of a shared male identity outside the context of female service remains nearly impossible. Social media and the attention economy have acted as accelerants to this ancient cultural framework. Platforms provide every woman with a digital court where thousands of anonymous male vassals offer instant validation, attention, and financial resources. For example, through platforms like Twitch or Patreon. This perpetual stream of external affirmation validates the inflated sense of worth derived from the Mariolatry narrative, making the standards for a suitable partner impossibly high. Why should a woman commit to one man's devotion when she has access to the collective worship of a digital congregation? The new woman of Marian Reedy's observation is now fully actualized as the perpetually affirmed digital sovereign, further hardening her position against the possibility of a reciprocal, humble pair bond with an ordinary man. Appease the machine spirit of the algorithm, engage the like sigil, and commune with the subscribe protocol to ensure your feed remains sanctified. Hail the Omnisaya.